This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Death toll continues to rise in the deadly and devastating wildfires as strong winds return to Southern California. Jim Roope, Los Angeles.
Tying wildfire aid to the debt ceiling.
I expect that there will be strings attached.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A federal judge gives the okay for Jack Smith's release of the Donald Trump election interference report. Correspondent Haya Panjwani will have details.
President Biden says he's leaving President-elect Trump with a nation seen as stronger. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
On Wall Street, Starbucks says you have to buy something if you want to hang around its cafes, and stocks are coming off a mixed day. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Special counsel investigating Hunter Biden speaks out, and an alleged Caitlin Clark stalker arrested. All ahead on America in the Morning. Southern California is on edge with the return of strong winds as the deadly and devastating wildfires continue to burn out of control, with more than 60 square miles now decimated. Our Jim Roope reports from Los Angeles.
Many are bracing for the worst and hoping and praying for the best as yet another Santa Ana wind event peaks today.
Severe fire weather conditions will continue through Wednesday.
L.A. County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney says while this round of Santa Ana winds are not expected to be as severe as the winds that fueled the fires last week, the danger just as high.
The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
We could see wind gusts today, in some areas as high as 70 miles per hour or more. But Maroney and L.A. City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley say they are ready. And as firefighters fight both flames and winds, law enforcement is fighting criminal opportunists who take advantage of the evacuated neighborhoods. L.A. County DA Nathan Hochman says charges are already being brought and filed against individuals caught in the act. Their pictures displayed at a Monday afternoon press conference.
And these are the criminals. These are the people who are seeking to exploit this tragedy for their own benefit.
Among the charges alleged against the suspects, looting, arson, flying a drone in a fire zone, and curfew violations. More than 12,000 homes, businesses, schools, churches, libraries, the very things that make a neighborhood, burnt to the ground or severely damaged. The cause of the fires under investigation. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives spent much of yesterday at a popular hiking trail near Pacific Palisades. On New Year's Eve, people letting off fireworks sparked a 4-acre brush fire, and it's believed that smoldering embers were brought back to life when last week's winds kicked up, causing what is now the worst natural disaster in the history of L.A. And there's an investigation going on and a lawsuit filed against Southern California Edison. There are allegations that the Eaton fire near Pasadena was sparked by a downed power line. All of these in the preliminary stages. There are also other investigations into problems that occurred during the initial and early ongoing response to the wildfires, from empty reservoirs and dry hydrants to a lack of firefighting personnel. Jim Roope, Los Angeles.
As firefighters work to slow down the massive Los Angeles wildfires, lawmakers in Washington are reacting to reports that there's been some discussion of tying wildfire aid to a debt limit increase, and others who want limits attached to any California emergency aid. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
Democrats are not fond of the idea of Congress making disaster relief money for California contingent on raising the debt ceiling, but some lawmakers say it could come to that.
I expect that there will be strings attached to money that is ultimately approved.
Republican Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso told CBS's Face the Nation he does, in fact, expect strings to be attached.
People want to make sure that as rebuilding occurs, as things go on in California, they have to be resilient so that these sorts of things can't happen again. And the policies of the liberal administration out there, I believe, have made these fires worse.
Republican Congressman Ron Johnson told Newsmax he's not in favor of an increase in disaster aid for California and would not vote for that.
You know, I certainly wouldn't vote for anything unless we see dramatic change in how they're going to be handling these things in the future. But again, these fires the disaster, the catastrophe that these fires were. You can't prevent fires, but you can certainly prevent the catastrophe.
He pointed directly to what he called a failure of state and local leaders.
It's about preventable. These are decisions Californian Democrats have made year after year after year. They divert water into the ocean. They don't fill up their reservoirs. They don't clean up their forests. They don't get rid of the underbrush.
Still some time to sort it out, but if Congress does not clear a bill lifting the debt ceiling in coming months, the U.S. government reportedly risks defaulting on its more than $36 trillion debt. I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better together. It's the lowest price of the season on the top-selling Sleep Number i8 smart bed. Limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store. Election interference report to be released. That's when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Back now on America in the Morning, AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy has today's forecast beginning in the west. Matt?
Santa Ana winds will be increasing again today, with the usual regions having wind gusts of 60 to 80 miles per hour and an AccuWeather local storm max of 100 miles per hour. This will continue to fuel the fires in the region and place an increased risk for new fires to develop. This should be letting up during the day Wednesday. And the rest of the western U.S. remains largely quiet. There will be a few flurries in eastern Wyoming, but overall there will be plenty of sunshine for most locations and temperatures generally running near their historical average, with 30s and 40s in the interior parts of the Northwest and warming as high as the upper 60s and lower 70s in Southern California into Arizona. Farther east into the Plain States, it'll be very cold again across the northern states, with some highs remaining below zero for the day and teens reaching as far south as northern Missouri into Illinois, and this is about 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average. It will moderate in the southern plains, with highs warming into the 50s and even some low 60s. That's closer to average. It will be dry for most, though South Texas could see a few showers. Farther east, the system is moving through the eastern Great Lakes, and it will produce some snow showers as far south as Kentucky into West Virginia, and then northward to New York into New England. A few places could see several inches of snow, while areas near the Great Lakes will once again see lake effect snow bands developing, which will produce a foot or more over the next couple of days. The southeast will be chilly today, though it will be dry with some sunshine at least. That's the weather across America. It will be windy and cold in Erie, Pennsylvania, with snow showers continuing and a high of 21. It'll be a chilly day in Reno, Nevada, despite plenty of sunshine, with a high climbing up to 46. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A judge has cleared the way for special counsel Jack Smith's report on Donald Trump's election interference case to be released, unless there's a final appeal. Details from correspondent Haya Panjwani.
A federal judge says the Justice Department can release special counsel Jack Smith's investigative report on President-elect Donald Trump's 2020 election interference case. The ruling from the U.S. District Judge, who was appointed to the bench by Trump, is the latest back and forth in a court dispute over the report from the special counsel who prosecuted Trump in two cases the Justice Department abandoned in November. Earlier, the judge had temporarily blocked the department from releasing the report. She later cleared the way for the release of the volume on Trump's 2020 election interference case. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Speaking at the State Department for the final time as Commander-in-Chief, President Biden says his foreign policy achievements have left America on a stronger footing than 4 years ago. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
A week before leaving office, President Biden says he's leaving President-elect Trump with a nation seen as stronger and more reliable than 4 years ago.
My administration is leaving the next administration with a very strong hand to play.
The president says it's not just that America and its allies are stronger.
Right now, in my view, thanks to our administration, the United States is winning the worldwide competition. Compared to 4 years ago, America is stronger. Our alliances are stronger. Our adversaries and competitors are weaker. We have not gone to war to make these things happen.
In a farewell address at the State Department, the president said he provided a strong hand when the world needed it, amid crises like the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the Israel-Hamas war.
And we're leaving them in America with more friends and stronger alliances, whose adversaries are weaker and under pressure. An America that once again is leading, uniting countries, setting the agenda, bringing others together behind our plans and visions.
Arguing his work to grow NATO and rally allied help for Ukraine, among other things, were part of a foreign policy that made the U.S. safer and economically more secure. But his case will be shaped by the fact that he leaves office with conflicts raging, and that American voters again turn to Trump's protectionist worldview. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
In the wake of LA wildfires, price gouging in the housing market. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Roller coaster on Wall Street continues. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with the Tuesday Report.
Wall Street opens this morning after a mixed day for the markets yesterday. Tech names were lower like Apple, Nvidia, and Palantir. The Dow was up, though, 350 points, led higher by United Health. The Biden administration reportedly gave healthcare companies an outgoing gift of possibly higher Medicare reimbursements. But the markets have been struggling, and some investors say a reset is on.
It's already happening, right? If you look at just the S&P 500, maybe you'll miss it. It's off 4% all-time highs. But the median stock is now down about 15% from its 2024 high.
J.P. Morgan's Gabriela Santos says it's not bonds or inflation rattling investors. She has a different view.
Really, I think we're all bracing for a week from now after the inauguration, the flurry of information we're going to get. And that, of course, reprices assets across the board.
The LA wildfires continue, winds picking up again. Rental homes are in critically short supply for families who've lost everything. We're hearing price gouging stories.
People are desperate for housing right now, especially rental housing. Many people who listed their homes have withdrawn the listing and instead decided to rent it out, and they're trying to get top dollar for it. We haven't aggregated any quantitative data on it yet, but anecdotally you hear about people suddenly asking for double the amount of rent. It's just going to get much harder now because so many people are displaced.
That's Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman on CNBC. Netflix cracked down on password sharing. Costco cracked down on membership card sharing. And now Starbucks is cracking down on sharing its cafes with people who don't buy anything.
That does mark a shift of the prior policy in place for 7 years that allowed the public to stay in cafes or use the bathroom regardless of whether they bought anything. Now, this, of course, follows Brian Niccol taking over as CEO on September 9th of last year.
CNBC's Pippa Stevens. The Power School data breach may have exposed the Social Security numbers of potentially millions of U.S. school kids. The software company supplies tech to K-12 public schools, serving 16,000 districts and as many as 50 million children. Parents are urged to freeze their children's credit, as Social Security numbers can be posted on the dark web, sold, and people can work on them illegally. On today's watch list, we get the latest on inflation at the wholesale level. It'll be the Producer Price Index this morning. Consumer data will come tomorrow. We find out how small business owners are feeling about the economy with the National Federation of Independent Business survey. And Boeing reports its most recent plane delivery numbers.
Yes, stay tuned. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Tuesday Business. Women's basketball, creepy fan. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. In his final report after a multi-year investigation, special counsel looking into the actions of Hunter Biden criticized his father for making what he called baseless accusations about his inquiry. David Weiss said President Biden threatened the integrity of his investigation. A jury in Wilmington, Delaware found Hunter Biden guilty of 3 felony counts last June for lying on a federal firearms application. He also pleaded guilty to 9 federal tax charges in Los Angeles in September. President Biden, soon after the November election, issued a pardon to his son Hunter, who was expected to receive prison time. A Texas man is facing charges for allegedly stalking the most popular player in women's basketball. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
A 55-year-old Texas man has been charged with felony stalking of Indiana Fever star and WNBA Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark. Marion County prosecutors wrote in a court filing that Michael Thomas Lewis is accused of repeated and continued harassment of the 22-year-old Clark. Authorities say Lewis posted numerous messages, some sexually threatening, on Clark's X account. Prosecutors wrote in the filing Clark felt terrorized, frightened, intimidated, and threatened as a result. The FBI learned the messages were sent from IP addresses at an Indianapolis hotel and downtown public library. I'm Gethin Coolball.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
More winds threaten new wildfires.
They said 70-mile-an-hour winds.
I'm Julie Walker.
Country music star Carrie Underwood and Village People will perform at Donald Trump's inaugural events. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Florida's governor ready to crack down on illegal immigration under a Trump administration. I'm Clayton Neville.
Optimism in the Israeli-Gaza talks, and there's $2 billion worth of COVID checks about to be sent out.
The First Lady's transition back to the White House in a documentary. I'm Katie Clark with details.
The Southern California wildfires are disrupting the entertainment industry in many ways. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back at the National Map. Let's get a check of the nation's weather with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
The weather map across the nation is fairly quiet today. In the east, we do have a fast-moving system that will produce some snow showers across the eastern Great Lakes and as far south as Kentucky into West Virginia and then northward to New York and New England. This will continue to usher colder air into the region. A few places could see a few inches of snow, while areas near the Great Lakes will once again see lake effect snow bands developing, which will produce a foot or more in the next couple of days. But this will be about it for most of the U.S. The southeast will be chilly today, though we'll at least have some sunshine. Highs in the afternoon will range from the 40s from Tennessee into North Carolina, and only in the 50s and low 60s toward the Gulf Coast. Southern Florida will once again have highs reaching into the 70s, though there could be a shower or two across that area as well. The northern plain states will remain quite cold today, with some highs remaining below zero for the day, and teens as far south as northern Missouri into Illinois. That's about 10 to 20 degrees below the historical average. And it'll be a little closer to average in the southern plains, with highs warming into the 50s and even some low 60s. Again, it will be dry for most areas, though South Texas could see a shower or two. Looking out west, Santa Ana winds will be increasing again today, with the usual regions having wind gusts of 60 to 80 miles per hour with an AccuWeather local storm max of 100 miles per hour. This will continue to fuel fires in the region and place an increased risk for new fires to develop. This should be letting up during the day Wednesday. The rest of the western U.S. remains largely quiet. There'll be a few flurries in eastern Wyoming, but overall there'll be plenty of sunshine for most locations and temperatures generally running near their historical average. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The work by firefighters in Los Angeles will only get harder today, as for the next 48 hours, they'll also be fighting hurricane-force Santa Ana winds. Los Angeles bravest are now being helped by hundreds of inmates from California jails, and more National Guard members are heading into the fire zone to stop looting. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, at least 24 people are dead, and an area from Santa Barbara to San Diego is now on alert due to the potential for high winds and increased fire danger.
There's not much that I found here. All I have is like this bag, a lemon, some metallic sprinkler heads just to make my 89-year-old mother feel better.
The whole time I was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to find when I get back here. And after 40 years, you got a lot of stuff you forget about that would disappear if the house burned down. So we were thankful.
Animals deserve a chance too. And a lot of times the owners aren't home, or the owners have to leave and they can't take big animals. They don't have the means to do it.
Never seen anything like it. My in-laws' family lost their son last year to a heart attack at 39. So for them to lose him at their house in a year, it's been tough.
A growing number of firefighters, including from out of state and out of the country, as well as equipment like planes and water trucks, are in the Los Angeles area as more winds threaten new wildfires.
The National Weather Service is predicting close to hurricane force level winds, and so we're making urgent preparations. My top priority and the priority of everyone else is to do everything we can to protect lives.
LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
We're very well prepared for the next event, but that's never going to be, we're never sure that we're going to be able to catch the next fire and keep it small. They said 70-mile-an-hour winds. It's going to be very difficult to contain that fire.
He warns, be prepared for evacuations. This comes as many residents try to get back to check their homes and pets following their first evacuations last Tuesday.
We want to get you in there.
LA County Sheriff Robert Luna says for many, it'll have to wait.
But I want to reiterate what is holding us up. This is very important. We are still, for the Altadena area, we are in the third day of grid searching. It is a very grim task. And we, unfortunately, every day we're doing this, we're running across the remains of individual community members.
He also says arrests have been made. I'm Julie Walker.
We're learning more about the events surrounding the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump on Monday. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on who will be performing at Trump's inauguration.
Country music star Carrie Underwood and 1970s hitmakers Village People will perform at Donald Trump's inaugural events. Underwood is scheduled to perform America the Beautiful shortly after Trump takes the oath of office at the U.S. Capitol on January 20th. The Village People's hits YMCA and Macho Man are some of Trump's favorite songs to close out his rallies. The band will perform at one of Trump's inaugural balls and a rally he's holding in Washington the day before he's sworn in. Other performers at the inaugural will include two of the president-elect's musical favorites, country singer Lee Greenwood and opera singer Christopher Macchio. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is calling for a special legislative session in his state to address an immigration crackdown after President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis calling a special legislative session in his state that's slated to begin in less than 2 weeks. On the agenda, condo safety, hurricane relief, and illegal immigration.
Yes, we have legal immigrants in Florida, so you can't conflate illegal immigrants with people who are here legally.
During a press conference announcing the session, the governor said that laws are expected to be followed by the officers hired to enforce them.
Now, the accountability is significant. If those duties are clear in law, I have the authority with respect to certain officials to suspend them from their office if they are neglecting their duties, and that's a authority that I have invoked when it's been appropriate in the past.
DeSantis expects to experience what he calls a sea change in federal immigration policies under the incoming Trump administration, which could include legal immigration policies.
Now, I've also said we've got some big problems with some of the legal immigration programs that we have. I mean, we've seen this H-1B program, how companies will bring in H-1B, the Americans train the H-1B, and then they fire the Americans and hire the H-1B. How would that even remotely be acceptable?
He also pointed to chain migration.
Chain migration, which is not merit-based and is bringing in more distant relatives, not what you want. So there's a whole host of issues there that need major reform.
The governor plans to work closely with the Trump administration. Trump has pledged to enact what's been described as the largest deportation effort in American history. I'm Clayton Neville.
The First Lady's plans when she enters the White House? We'll have that coming up next. Plus, can this billionaire investor save TikTok? Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. High-level U.S.-backed ceasefire talks appeared to be gaining momentum as Arab and American mediators pressed for an agreement to halt the fighting in Gaza and release the hostages held by Hamas before President Trump assumes office on Monday. But as correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports, there's Israeli concern that they must have a hand in security moving forward.
A deal could weaken Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition, which includes two far-right factions that have threatened to leave the government if Israel makes too many concessions. Members of the opposition have promised to give Netanyahu the support he needs, but the hardliners' anger could be a source of instability down the road. 10 hardline members of Israel's parliament have sent a letter to the Prime Minister expressing their opposition to a deal that does not allow Israeli soldiers to maintain a presence in some parts of the Gaza Strip. That's previously been a non-starter for Hamas. Netanyahu's hoping a Trump administration will persuade his partners to remain in the government. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The soon-to-be First Lady all over again spoke with Fox News about what her plans will be when she and her husband return to the White House. Katie Clark has that story.
On Monday, January 20th, the transition begins as Joe Biden leaves the office of president, while Donald Trump comes back to the White House for a second term. For the first time, a documentary is being filmed during the transition, focusing on Melania's job as First Lady. The idea for the documentary came after the success of Melania's book, a memoir of her early life, her modeling career, and her marriage to Donald Trump. Crews started filming in November and will continue to follow her as she makes the White House a home. Again, Melania speaking to Fox News about January 20th. Moving day.
The transition team has only 5 hours to move Biden's out and to move us in. So everything needs to be planned to the minute.
Mrs. Trump discussing her work in the first 100 days.
I established my team. I have a few positions that I still need to hire. I don't want to hire too many people on my team and spending too much taxpayer money.
She discusses her busy upcoming schedule.
Very busy. We already started. I think it will be an exciting 4 years. We have a lot to do, put the country back in shape.
The documentary will be on Amazon Prime Video later this year. I'm Katie Clark.
Being readied for electronic delivery, Lisa Dwyer reports that the IRS is distributing over $2 billion to taxpayers who didn't receive their COVID stimulus payments.
By the end of January, approximately 1 million taxpayers will receive special COVID stimulus payments of up to $1,400 from the IRS. The agency says it's distributing those payments to taxpayers who failed to claim a recovery rebate credit on their 2021 tax returns. After reviewing its internal data, the IRS found that many eligible taxpayers who filed a 2021 tax return did not claim the recovery rebate credit. The payments will go out automatically this month and should arrive by direct deposit or check by late January. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
More trouble for the Safe Sport organization after a former investigator has now been charged with sexual crimes during his previous career as a police officer. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
An investigator who was fired last year from the U.S. Center for Safe Sport after an arrest for allegedly stealing from a drug bust has been arrested again on new charges. The case resurfaces questions of how Jason Krasley got through what officials at the center say is a robust vetting process when he was hired to investigate sex abuse cases in sport. The former Allentown police officer has been charged with felony rape, kidnapping, involuntary sexual servitude, and other charges that the DA's office alleges took place while he was on the force. Safe Sport CEO Jerice Colon says the center has commissioned a third-party audit of cases that Krasley handled, saying she's appalled that a former staff member has been accused of such heinous acts in his previous role as a police officer. Krasley's attorney says he absolutely denies the allegations. The former officer has also been named in a whistleblower lawsuit filed last year by 2 Allentown officers who allege widespread misconduct in the department. I'm Jennifer King.
A published report has billionaire Elon Musk in last-minute talks with TikTok's Chinese parent ByteDance to buy the short video app that has 1.2 billion active users just days before it could be banned by the U.S. government. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's tech news.
According to a report from Reuters, Chinese officials are considering a potential option that involves the sale of TikTok to the billionaire owner of social media platform X, Elon Musk. Last week, the Supreme Court seemed inclined to uphold a law that would force the sale or ban the popular short video app TikTok in the United States by January 19th. The Chinese Cyberspace Administration and the Ministry of Commerce were unavailable for comment, and as of yet, no confirmation from Elon Musk or X. Bloomberg News also reported on Monday, citing people familiar with the matter, that the officials prefer that TikTok remain under the control of ByteDance and that they are contesting the ban with an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. In one scenario, Musk's social media platform X would take control of TikTok in the U.S. and run the businesses together, adding that the Chinese officials have yet to reach any firm consensus about how to proceed and that their deliberations are still preliminary. For breaking tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
Tick-tock goes the clock on the countdown to the Super Bowl. With sports, here's our Robert Workman.
The NFL's wild card weekend wrapped up last night in Arizona as the Rams rolled over the Vikings 27-9. Matthew Stafford threw 2 first-half scoring passes while the defense sacked Sam Darnold 9 times to tie a playoff record. Jared Verse returned a fumble on one of those sacks for a 57-yard TD. Coach Sean McVay.
Yeah, it just says so much about, the mental toughness, the fortitude, the resilience, great leadership by Mr. Kroenke, allowing us to be able to operate the way that we were. Our players did such a great job.
The divisional round begins Saturday with the 2 top seeds entering the fray after a bye week. The Chiefs host the Texans, then the Lions welcome the Commanders. On Sunday, the Rams visit the Eagles, and the Ravens head to Buffalo to meet the Bills, the much-hyped clash between the MVP favorites Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Another NFL coaching opening, the Cowboys cashiered Mike McCarthy after 5 years and 50 wins, but only one of those coming in the playoffs. Our Crazy Town Bureau says Dallas owner Jerry Jones spoke with Deion Sanders yesterday, and a formal interview could happen. 6 teams are searching for new head coaches. NBA, the Timberwolves walloped the Wizards 120-106. Anthony Edwards with 41 points, 20 of those in the fourth quarter to sew up a close one against the team with the worst record in the association. Jalen Green had a career-best 42 points to lead the Rockets to a come-from-behind 120-118 win over the Grizzlies. Wins for the Raptors, Pistons, Spurs, and Clippers. Auburn is the new number 1 in college basketball, garnering 60 of 62 first-place votes in the AP poll this week, and 25 of 31 top nods in the coaches survey. NHL wins for the Oilers, Flyers, and Flames. That's Tuesday Sports.
Robert Workman with sports. Move over glass houses for these ice castles when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The devastating Los Angeles wildfires are having a major impact on Hollywood, shutting down many studio productions and delaying award shows. Kevin Carr reports.
The Southern California wildfires continue to hit the entertainment industry hard. Many celebrities like Billy Crystal, Carrie Elways, and Miles Teller have lost their homes. Mel Gibson, who was recording a podcast while his Malibu home burned, tried to make light of the situation on News Nation this weekend.
Do you remember George Carlin talking about your stuff? Yeah. I had my stuff there, and it's all like, I've been relieved from the burden of my stuff because it's all in cinders.
However, he was grateful the people he loved were safe.
The good news is that, those in my family and those I love are all well, and we're all happy and healthy and out of harm's way.
Similarly, Rosie O'Donnell's home was destroyed, she revealed on TikTok.
Listen, I wish life was fair. I really do. It's not. And it never has been.
This caused her and her family to decide to move back east to New York.
So we have a couple days to pack up just the little couple things that we brought here to the hotel. And then we're going to head east to New York.
The industry as a whole has been reeling from the devastation, causing a shakeup in production work and award season. Oscar nominations, which were scheduled for Friday, have been delayed until Sunday. The Grammys will take place on February 2nd as planned, but the events building up to the awards will be canceled. And while some production is gearing up again, like Jimmy Kimmel Live and NCIS, other delays are expected. I'm Kevin Carr.
From fire to ice. It took about 25 million tons of it, but in 4 states, including New Hampshire, thanks to an early winter blast from Mother Nature. Ice castles and ice caves aglow in light are opening this weekend. Correspondent Ed Donahue has details.
Dazzling ice castles are drawing tourists from Utah to New Hampshire. Ice Castles features caves, art, towers, and tunnels.
So we're looking at about 25 million pounds of ice spread over 2 acres.
Ice Castles' Jared Henningsen is at their New Hampshire location.
We have world-class ice sculptures that are embedded in different parts of the castle. There is a lot of hanging ice in caverns, and so ice elements you may not see in the wild that you can see here.
Temperatures were cold enough to open early this winter, and it's not just about looking at ice.
A huge amount of slides for kids of all ages.
Julia Jones from Massachusetts saw ice castles for the first time.
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this big. We started walking around and I'm like, oh, a tunnel, oh, a tunnel, oh, a tunnel. I'm like, we have to go through all of them.
By day, the walls and other structures shine with a pale blue hue. After dark, lights embedded within the ice glow pink, purple, and green. I'm Ed Donahue.
That's our show for today, January 14th, 2025. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.